This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
We bring in Matt Norlander of CBSSports.com. Matt, appreciate you waking up with us this morning. You and your colleague Gary Parrish talked to 100-plus college basketball coaches recently in your CBSSports.com article, and you surveyed a bunch of them, and about 74% of them have Arkansas assume that they're the top of the NIL world. Are you surprised to see Arkansas found where they were and just kind of where they are in the pecking order of college basketball now?
Morning. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I'm out on a walk cool down here, so just got squeezing a little cardio before my kids, so I appreciate you guys. I'm not surprised Arkansas finished first. So just to lay it out real quickly here, every year Gary Parrish and I do a series called Candid Coaches, and we basically poll anywhere from 105 to 110 coaches across the country. Some of them are at John Calipari's level in terms of renown, although Calipari was not a subject in this year. He has been in the past. And some of them are second and third assistant coaches at the low major level. So we really scan the entire sport and try and represent, at least 22 or 23 different conferences, all of it. And this was one of the questions, although Calipari was also the winner to another question earlier this week. We can get to that in a second. I wasn't surprised whatsoever that Arkansas won. When Cal took the job, it sparked so much interest, reaction, curiosity across the sport because he was staying within the SEC. Arkansas is obviously a very, very good job. It's not regarded. I know where I'm talking. I'm just speaking objectively here. Arkansas is never considered a top 10 job in the sport, but it is absolutely considered a top 20 job. And so here you have a coach who's going from a top 3 job to another very, very good job. Is he going to be able to have a renaissance in the winter of his career? Now, when he did this, and I know your listeners are aware of all this, the NIL situation, it spiked. I had multiple sources tell me that under Musselman, there was like casual speculation that Arkansas was among the richer NIL schools in Musselman's final year. Mm-hmm. It was doing fine, but I've had multiple people tell me it basically tapped out at about $1 million last year, and now there is no, as I put it, there is no practically no bottom to this piggy bank that Cal's working with. So everyone understood that Arkansas was working on a level. I actually think Arkansas probably from an NIL standpoint is on a tier to itself. So we polled 100-plus coaches. A few opted not to answer because they were small school coaches, and they're like, listen, man, I'd love to answer this, but I would be completely guessing, and I don't want to do that. Some of this is obviously speculative in nature, but others obviously realized that. We said we wanted them to rank their 3 schools that they thought had the best NIL situation. Arkansas appeared on 74% of the ballots, and then within that number, I'd say about 50% of the coaches actually ranked Arkansas first, so they are far and away considered to be the best NIL situation in 2024 men's college basketball. Nothing's football, obviously, but if there was one school that is kind of sitting at the table where a lot of Division I high major football programs are operating at from an NIL perspective, Arkansas is that school right now.
You piqued my interest, Matt. You mentioned the other question that was asked about, and Cal was at the top of the list. I guess I hadn't seen it. What is the answer to that question? What is the question, I should ask?
So the question was, we ask it every year, or if it didn't go earlier this week, it might have been late last week. We ask who was the best high major hire in college basketball. So this past cycle, there were more coaching changes. There were more than 60. I think it might have been 67 or 68 coaching changes. Wow. There had never been that many coaching changes in Division I college basketball ever, and as many as this year. And we had, I think there were 14 high major changeovers. There had never been more power conference jobs that had flipped in a single season than this past one. And, a lot of that was sparked by the fact that Calipari wound up going to leaving Kentucky to go to Arkansas there, and he won comfortably. I figured he would. A lot of coaches that we spoke to said, listen, this is a super interesting class of coaches. There's going to be some guys that are going to be way better than people think, and there's going to be some high-profile guys that aren't as good as people think. But Calipari was first. Dusty May at Michigan was second. I believe Mark Pope was fourth on that list. But I figured Calipari would win it. I wasn't sure if he'd win it by 2 or 3 percentage points or, what he wound up winning it by. I think he had more total votes. Dusty was 7. I think coaches that finished 2nd through 7th still didn't combine to get as many votes as Cal in our poll there. So there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of optimism. There is, from some, a wonderment about, okay, Calipari hasn't made a Final Four since 2015. He's had some really good teams, but they have had some significant issues once they get to March. And will a change of scenery really reinvigorate him? I have not talked to Calipari specifically about this, but in talking to people that work with him, know him well, some of the scheduling stuff he's done, some of the scheduling stuff that's already out there, some stuff that isn't public knowledge yet, he is really motivated to have a dynamic and loud final few chapters of his coaching career. I think he's got a really good chance. But I would say to Arkansas fans, the one thing I would keep in mind here is that this is the final COVID year, so transfer changeover probably is never going to be as crazy again as it was this past season. Calipari ideally would not want to have to flip over a roster of 8 or 9 players moving forward in a given offseason. But the pure nature of changing your roster that much, it can lead to just, factors that are hard to prepare for. And so I would say that Calipari in 24, because of circumstance and not because of who he is or how old he is, it's not as automatic as it was for Calipari in 2018, 2015, 2012 when he first got to Kentucky. But he's rightfully so considered the best high major hire, and in effect the best hire made by any program. And the way we got there is wild. I'll never forget that Final Four weekend. When that all went down the night before the title game, and here we have it. I have a quick question for you. I just out of curiosity, right now you're on the cusp of football season. In your region, would you say there is more anticipation and excitement and intrigue and just interest in the football program at this point, or is basketball overtaking that, even though we're obviously still, 2.5 months and change away from basketball season starting?
That's a great question, man. I think we're still trying to really put our finger directly on that pulse, but basketball is far more interesting and is far more a part of daily conversation now than it's been in 25, 30 years at this point in the calendar year. So I think football's still highly anticipated. I wouldn't say basketball has overtaken that, but I would say on a 0 to 100 anticipation scale, it's like probably 65% football and about 35% basketball. And with the first loss in football, that number may flip.
Yeah, I could see that happening. And Calipari is obviously very, very good at drumming up interest in a variety of ways. It'll be a good team. I do believe in the team. I think the team should be top 25 level. There's some things with the roster that I think, they're just going to have to iron themselves out. But I think all told, Calipari did well for himself, and kind of just put a bow on what we started the conversation with. Partly why Calipari and Arkansas won our NIL question so easily, far and away, was they got a lot of high-profile transfers, and then a lot of players that they were getting, there were 2, 3, or 4 schools that were in the running to get these players, and these coaches and the assistants know what the players are looking to get in NIL, and they're willing to hit a certain number. Wasn't enough. Arkansas went above that number. You take all these players, you add it up, they're like, who else could possibly be working on this kind of level? So it will be very interesting to see what's believed to be college basketball's most highly paid roster perform in its first year. And when they're all coming together, these guys didn't know each other 3 months ago. So yeah, I'm super intrigued by all of it.
All right, so Matt Norlander's with us, CBS Sports, talking NIL, and Arkansas at the top of the list right now, and the perception of college basketball coaches that they polled. Matt, can you put a dollar figure to it? We hear in football that it's $15 to $20 million now to to really be a highly funded NIL program. Are we talking $5 million, $6, $7, $8 million? What's it take to be at the level people perceive Arkansas to be at from a dollar standpoint?
You hear that, Doc? Apologies. I'm just walking by and it's just trying to do its job here. I can't put a specific number to it.
What would you guess?
To my speculative number was that Arkansas spent north of $8 million this season to acquire its roster. If you told me, personally, I don't think it hit 10, but I would say between like 8 and 9.5 would be my speculative guess on that. And listen, that's a huge, huge number. But also, this is important context for your listeners. If we went back a year and you talked to 20 coaches at all power conference schools and coaches or assistants, whoever's involved in doing a lot of this stuff, most of them would have predicted that the transfer market, which was pretty volatile a year ago, would probably take a slight dip in terms of money asked. The exact opposite happened. I mean, it got crazy in terms of, and some of this is represented in some of the quotes that my colleague Gary Parrish put in the story. A player that would have gone theoretically for $100,000 a year ago was truly going for $300,000 or $400,000. Part of why that is the case is because you have so much. There are many factors, but one of the factors, you have so much coaching turnover, and nothing will skyrocket an NIL situation in a program and rally boosters, rally fan bases like a coaching change.
Yeah.
And so, and we never had more coaching changes in a single offseason than this one. So a lot of those factors played into that. But that would be my number. I can tell you that in speaking to high major coaches, a lot of them are of the belief, the running understanding that Arkansas, at absolute bare minimum, was working with at least $7 million in NIL deals for this offseason to acquire the roster. And more power to them. If you got the money, you want to build a roster, really good players, really good young men, by all means, and let's roll the ball out and see how they do.
Matt, we'll leave it there. I know you came in for the Duke game last year. You watched a crazy night then. Hope to see you in Fayetteville this upcoming season, which will be a raucous atmosphere, I would guess, all conference season long.
Appreciate it. That was an awesome experience. I hope to one day soon get back down to Bud Walton. I appreciate you guys and have a wonderful rest of your summer.
That is, again, Matt Norlander, CBS Sports college basketball writer, podcaster, and more. Kind enough to join us here in our SEC update.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.